the cup that Jesus took, because not only what he said, but the Apostle Paul and the Gospel writer says it was after supper that he took the cup. And so it was the cup of redemption. Now, what was the cup of redemption? The cup of redemption, what would happen is they would take the bread, the unleavened bread, and there's so much significance. I'm just hitting the high points. And so they would take that bread, and the Father would break that bread. It was a certain piece of bread that had been hidden and now made known through the children finding it and bringing it to the Father. And he would break that and talk about the lamb and how pure it was and how it was without blemish and how precious it was. Because you see, on the 10th day of the month, they took that little lamb into their home just like you would a little puppy or a kitten. And they loved that lamb, and they got close to it, and they fed the lamb and took care of it. And then on the 14th day, 4 days after it was in their home and they got attached to it, they would cut its throat. Because it was a precious lamb. It was without blemish. It was the pick of the litter, so to speak. And so it was slain. So that lamb was precious, and so that bread represented that precious lamb. Mm-hmm. And so Jesus talked about that every other night except this one. And this time, he said, this bread represents my body. Mm-hmm. And so what he was saying to them, they all remembered that. That was John who said, here is the Lamb that takes away the sin of the world. It was the Lamb. Jesus was the Lamb. And he said, I am this Lamb. And so from now on, I want you, when you take this bread, not to remember a lamb in Egypt or the lamb that we're about to eat, but remember me, because my body is going to be broken for you. In other words, he's going to be filleted just like a lamb would have been. Then he took that cup of redemption, and he said, this is the cup of that lamb's blood that was shed and put on the lintel and the doorpost so that you could be freed from Egyptian slavery and bondage. But from now on, when you take this cup, I want you to look at that crimson color and the liquidity of it, and remember that this is the blood of my own veins that is going to die, not to set you free from Egyptian bondage, but set you free forever from the bondage of sin. And so I want you to remember me. And then there was a fourth cup called the Hallel cup. So you have the cup of sanctification, the setting apart of the Jew. Then you have the cup of judgment. Then you eat a meal. Then you have the cup of redemption that I just named. But the fourth cup was the Hallel cup. That was a cup of praise. That was a cup that would be used down through the centuries to remember that God had a land that he had promised for his people, and that they were all there in the land. And when they got in the land, they were to remember that was the place that God prepared for them. And they were all together there. And so they would celebrate with this Hallel cup. It's a cup of praise. Hallel means praise. And so Jesus said, now listen, Jesus said, I will not drink of this cup till I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Right. Why didn't he drink that? Listen to me. All the children weren't home yet. They're still being gathered in. That's all of us, and all that we will bring to Jesus one day. We will sit around and he will serve us that fourth cup all together when he reigns on earth.